Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 Black Ice with me, Alpha Pi Omega, and Turkey. So this is episode number 3. We have laid the groundwork, and today we're going to continue rushing through the months. However, before we do that, I actually have a couple of points that I would like to make, because I keep thinking about what we're going to do and how to optimize everything so that we build up as much power as we can in the limited time frame that we have. First of all, I read all of your comments, and there were already actually some very interesting ones. I will answer all of them within the next day, and read even the further ones that you will make. But the one that I actually want to highlight is a comment made by Sheen Kenan, who actually reminded me that there is a way how you can use excess chromium, or in this case it's called alloying metals, in your steel refineries to actually produce more steel. So we could get way more steel, and we'll probably free up a factory, so thank you for that. Second, I actually realized that I didn't mention this, but we really need to get back to the Türk Silahlı Kuvvetleri at some point, because that one leads directly to the unforeseen consequences, which gives us another research slot that we can use for doctrines. Doctrines is something that I didn't really talk about much, but they are absolutely crucial for us to go through them and get the bonuses out of them, because look how much of a bonus they give you to all of your things. They also take an extreme amount of time to research, and there is a lot of doctrines that you can work your way through in the game. You very rarely have the opportunity to make all of them, even as the great powers of this era. So it is good to get that one as soon as possible. However, apart from the Türk Silahlı Kuvvetleri, we also need to have at least a 9% world tension. Though I really believe that with the annexation of Austria, we might get there pretty quickly, or maybe with Japanese declaration on the Republic of China. So, we can get it. Maybe once we get the first slot here, the Village Institutes, just as a preparation, we can get it so that we can grab it the moment it becomes available. Because I don't really know about the exact time frame. It's going to be a little bit of a waste of time, but again, getting this research slot as fast as possible is going to be good. I also think that I'm going to do a little bit of a change here. And instead of going for an actual advisor for our government, we might want to actually start with a theorist, because, well, it sounds weird, but the army experience that we would get from this guy over time would be amazing. Nearly everything that you produce in Black Ice can be modified in one way or another, and it further strengthens your units, but it costs quite a lot of extra army experience to do that. So having more of, even uniforms can get, extra reliability and recovery rate, stuff like that. So making sure that we get as much army experience as possible in the short time frame we will have will be a good idea. And while I would, probably do well to have our units drill all the time, considering how much equipment we are missing at this point, I don't think it's the right way to do. We will do it later on, and we will do it with the new units, and we'll start drilling very soon, but I just cannot have them drill, without any limited time frame, because while they're drilling, they're losing equipment, they're getting attrition, and we don't even have uniforms for our units. So just wasting it that way seems like a bad idea. So getting a theorist instead sounds like something that we might have a little bit more benefit from. But we'll see. Again, these are just ideas that I'm floating around. Please let me know your opinions. I'll probably try to, I would like to open a discussion with you guys in this regard, because while I will be always a little bit ahead of you in the recording, I'm probably gonna try to build a bit of a buffer to keep the episodes rolling in. every day. I still appreciate your comments, and once you leave them, I will incorporate them. Anyway, enough of that. Let's unpause and see what the game is going to bring us. We are very close in political power to be able to switch to the civilian economy. So that's going to be a massive boost to our efficiency. I don't understand though the isolation giving us this much of a penalty. Wait, did it already calculate it or did it not? I don't think it did, because I'm pretty sure we would get more steel. No, we're not getting more steel, alright. So it doesn't really change much for us. I think we're gonna get a couple of steel mills though through our focus tree somewhere. You give murder factories, oil. I'm pretty sure I saw it somewhere. Cement factory, or was it in the... That's weird. I thought that we would get steel mills. Okay, here's one. But I was pretty sure we would get one over here as well. Agriculture. Bankers. Well, no, I guess not. Alright, so how much do steel mills cost? Because we will need to build a couple. 4,400, which is way cheaper than a civilian factory. Plus 30. It needs a little bit of energy. And we don't have enough iron, but it's cheaper to import iron than it's cheaper to import steel. Alright, I think we might... Actually, do we need that now? Yeah, I mean, we definitely are gonna free up a couple of factories by doing this. And that's about the steel mill. Let's build it in Ankara. So, here we have the information about the Olympics. 1936 Winter Olympics closing ceremony. The Winter Olympics have ended with the closing ceremony in the Olympic Stadium, hosted by Ritter von Hout, who also gave the last winning athletes their medals. Norway collected the most medals with 15, followed by the hosting nation Germany. Now you need to keep an eye on the food, because that one is also really bad. Oh snap, we can do the civilian economy. I completely missed that. Completely missed it. I missed it by 4 days, so something dramatic. But here you can see that they made it sort of a progression, where every day the economy is going to turn a little bit away from isolationism and go into the civilian economy, gradually removing the penalties that we have. I'm thinking, will you do anything for us in regards to fuel capacity will be increased? No, nothing in regards to the steel mill, but we should see soon a massive drop in when the civilian factory, and yeah, even you can see that we are getting more and more factories already available, so that's pretty good. How the efficiency increase? Okay, almost 4 horse transport per day, almost 12.5 field uniforms, 5 infantry weapons, the Mausers. Oh, we still need a ton of you guys. The remilitarization of Rhineland. Germany stationed troops in the Rhineland territory close to the French border in clear violation of the Treaty of Versailles. The local population cheered the German soldiers on, while the diplomatic reaction from France and Britain have so far been muted. It is no more than the Germans walking into their own backyard, a political commentator in Britain observed. Actually, where's the Montreal deal? It should be here somewhere really close. Diplomatic effort. Republicanism. Peace and home and peace in the world. Oh man, we can get a ton of political points from these. We should consider those two. Monterey. Here it is. Montreal Convention. Bursa, Bosporus, Istanbul gains deterrence. And Fort Coastal Fort. Okay. So we need to get that one as well eventually. Okay. Oh yeah, we're getting more factories every single day. Nice. Hey! And now we have more steel as well. So we can kill this. Get an extra factory. I know that's not a big difference. Oh, that's really nice. It's starting to look much better. What do we need for the early mobilization? 15% world tension. Partial mobilization. One of the following. Alright. So we can keep progressing further if we get more world tension. Oh god, it's already 6%. How much we need? 9? 9, alright. So it's gonna be really quick. But I mean, while we're at it, we can get this done. Whereas we're gonna lose a little bit of the bonus that we're getting from... Oh, wait, what? I thought that we were getting 0.1 from the isolationism, aren't we? Oh no, okay, so that wasn't from that. Okay, so then it's gonna impact us, but I would still like it if we could get... what is it called? The focus on people's problems. So, Australia rejects the suggestion of returning German colonies. On March 18th, 1936, Australia rejected the possibility of returning of German colonies. The country's government issued a statement emphasizing the importance of its national security and territorial integrity, and stating that the return of the territories under Australian mandate was unthinkable. The statement came in response to growing speculation that Germany might seek to reclaim some of its former colonies, which had been placed under Australian mandate by the League of Nations following World War I. The Australian government was clear in its position, stating that the inviolability and the integrity of its territory were of paramount importance. The government argued that this policy was inextricably linked to its national security, and that any threats to its territorial integrity would be met with the utmost resolve. One particular area of concern was the strategic value of New Guinea, which has been placed under Australian mandate following World War I. The government noted the geographical position of the island, as well as its natural harbours and facilities for naval and military aircraft. These factors, it argued, made New Guinea of crucial importance to Australia's defense and security. Well, Japanese will have a lot to say about that soon. Soon enough. Nice, we're almost at full production line. Yeah, 29th of April, it really goes nicely. Alright, now we are at civilian economy. Oh, and isolationism isn't even available anymore, that's fun. Alright, so what is the ending effect? 26th of April, so we shaved off a month and a half from the production, and considering how far we are, this is gonna be good. Now I have to keep an eye on the energy needs. Alright, now we're actually missing a little bit of steel, but that impacts just the submarine production, so I'm actually okay with it. Same as with the aluminum. I think it really makes sense to import them just in much higher quantities. You can stockpile resources, but I don't think... Or did they remove that? Resources. No, that's the balance. Okay, sugar industry effort, consumer goods. There was a... Or maybe they removed it. There was an option to stockpile resources, which was great for some of the nations, but I cannot find it anywhere. Okay, let's go ahead and wait. Decisions. Focus on people's problems. That's gonna make us way better in stability. We're gonna get close to 100%, which is where we want to be. We have finished the sugar industry effort. Now we can get build merino textile factories and then establish village institutes. Then we're gonna go with Türk Silahlı Kuvvetleri and then unforeseen consequences if we can. Otherwise we're just gonna return here. So Merino's textile factory. We will diversify our industry. I wish they had more description here, but I guess, well, that's actually not true. I'm pretty sure a lot of Turkish people would jump on the opportunity to write descriptions for these. Either way, we now have a full production line and 2 overspilling factories. Let's actually do it this way. I was thinking Austria introduces compulsory military service. I would actually like to build another factory here, but I want this one to go through first. Alright, so we'll have to wait for it to actually finish. Austria introduces compulsory military service. On April 1st, 1946, Austria introduced compulsory military service, with or without arms. The decision to implement conscription was driven by a number of factors, including economic concerns, a desire to preserve the country's sovereign rights, and a belief in the social values of military training. One of the main reasons cited for the introduction of conscription was the economic situation facing Austria at the time. The country was struggling with high levels of unemployment and a sluggish economy, and the government saw military service as a way to provide employment and training for young people. Another factor was the desire to preserve Austria's sovereign rights in the face of potential threats from other countries in Europe. The government argued that conscription was necessary to ensure the country's security and independence. Alright, we're starting to get a little bit overwhelmed with events. The failure of other signatories to the peace treaty of Saint-Germain to disarm was also cited as a reason for the introduction of conscription. The government believed that it was necessary for Austria to have a strong military in order to deter the potential aggressors and maintain stability of the region. Finally, the government emphasized the social value of military training, arguing that it provided important physical, moral, and patriotic education for young people. The introduction of compulsory military service was seen as a way to promote these values and strengthening the social fabric of the country. The decision to introduce conscription was controversial and was met with opposition from some quarters. However, the government was clear in its belief that it was necessary for the country's security and prosperity, and the introduction of compulsory military service would go on to have a significant impact on Austria's history in the years that followed. Ecuador supports Italy. The decision was made following the meeting of Ecuadorian cabinet, during which it was argued that the sanctions had failed to achieve their intended goal of bringing Italy to the negotiating table. Instead, it was suggested that the sanctions had only hurt Ecuador's own economy by cutting off important trade relations with Italy. The decision to lift the sanctions was met with criticism from some quarters, particularly those who opposed Italy's aggressive actions in Ethiopia. However, the Ecuadorian government argued that it was acting in the best interest of the country by seeking to maintain positive relations with Italy. The lifting of the sanctions was seen as a significant victory for Italy, which has faced increasing isolation and condemnation from the international community in the wake of its invasion of Ethiopia. However, it also marked a turning point in the attitude of smaller countries towards Italy's aggressive actions and demonstrated the willingness of some nations to support Italy in its expansionist policies. And the League condemns Austrian militarism. In 1936, the Witte Entente, consisting of Czechoslovakia, Romania, and Yugoslavia, protested against Austria's introduction of compulsory conscription, with or without arms, on April 1st. The Witte Entente argued that this was in violation of the Treaty of Saint-Germain, which had laid down military regulations for Austria in Part 5 of the treaty. Austria's alteration to this part of the treaty by unilateral denouncing was seen as a manifest infringement of the military clauses of the treaty. The Witte Entente deeply regretted Austria's decision to take this course, which represented a negation of international obligations. They pointed out that Austria was a member of the League of Nations and had, in fact, been condemned by the Council of the League of Nations for taking a similar course of action in the past. The Witte Entente could not admit that Austria should be allowed to take the law into its own hands by this unilateral step, which was a clear violation of international obligations. They called on Austria to reverse its decision and abide by the Treaty of Saint-Germain. Austria rejected the protest, arguing that they had drafted the new bill deliberately and with the knowledge that they had fulfilled their obligations to provide the necessities of life to the Austrian people and to safeguard the existence of the Austrian state. They argued that the introduction of compulsory conscription was necessary for the economy, the preservation of sovereign rights, and the maintenance of the existing European order. White protest. We have a bit of a penalty with Austria, -10, and world tensions are slightly increased. Well, it's unfortunate, but expected. I like that Jeppe keeps getting more power still. But so does DP, Democrat Party, they're conservative. And Zerbest Jumhuriyet Party is liberal. Where's the... This is authoritarian, fascist, communist, agrarian. Ah, here's the one. HIP, monarchist. They would bring back Abdulmajid II. Who's So if we became fascist, we would get Yusuf Hikmet Bayur. If you don't know that guy, never heard about him. Okay, so we finished the research of our first artillery piece, the 122mm M10. So what's next? I was actually tempted, and I didn't speak about this, but to think about potentially getting some rocket artillery, which is over here, but that one comes way late. We'll see if we'll have some production available for it. What about infantry? There's really not much. We could get these ones, semi-motorized infantry. That would help with the motorization of the cavalry. And we could start a mobile army. You are way ahead of time. Or we could start looking into potential machine guns. But I don't really think that might make... because it would complicate our situation right now, to be honest. So let's research something that's not gonna make our life more miserable. So what about support units? Because we do want to have combat engineer company. They help with the attacks. So that would be a good option. We don't really care about the medium artillery. Are we producing heavy artillery? I don't think we are, right? Yeah, we're not. Okay, so that makes very little sense for us to dabble in right now, because it's not necessary. Or an anti-tank. Though again, that means more production for us. So I guess we are gonna go with engineering company. We would need the light vehicles. We want the logistic companies, but again, that's way in the future. Alright, let's... there wasn't anything here, right? No, I don't... Okay, makes sense. So let's go with the assault infantry. Sorry, the assault engineers. Or combat engineers. With modern equipment and high explosives, our combat engineers can go beyond their traditional tasks and surprise the enemy with their ingenuity and land and sea. Alright, that's... Oh, wait. And we need to change you to our new gun. But I'm not happy with the name. 120mm is a little bit generic. So let us actually rename it. And I'm gonna call this one 122mm Toprak. It's gonna be our first gun produced in Turkey. We don't have an industrial organization actually to do that. And you know, I could upgrade it if I had the option right now, but I don't, which is sad, but still. So let's start producing Toprak, our first domestically produced light artillery piece. Gonna produce 1.26 per week. Oh yeah, that is great. That's actually amazing. How many do we need? 36 per unit. Alright, we still have the World War I equipment going on strong here, as I can see. The artillery pieces that you saw there, these ones, those are World War I light artillery guns. 75mm Krupp. That's German World War I gun. So the Topraks are going to be our first modern artillery gun. We'll actually be able to increase the production of these gradually, because these are actually worth producing, so I don't mind doing that. I could have maybe kept that one running until we finish the gun, but never mind, doesn't matter. Okay, we should finish you soon. That's great. Construction 1 and electronic mechanical engineering. Very nice. So you take 100 days, you take 250 days. The thing is, once we finalize this one, it would be great to go for both this one and this one at the same time. So finding something that's as short as possible now would be beneficial for us. You can do industry, so you could help here, and you can do resource manufacturing. Is there anything? The wood fire engines are actually pretty good. Industrial farming. Is the extraction worth anything? Because we don't have any iron or anything. We have a little bit of food. So that's a question. I don't think this one will help us much. The farms could. But the wood-fired engines actually might make sense. The fuel consumption for civilian demand is 316. It's gonna increase as we're gonna increase, but it lowers the speed of production. None of these are really great. Not gonna lie. Defense works. Or I could straight up go with construction 2. Nah, that's not great. Civilian works. Fuel refining. I'm trying to be as effective here as possible, but you know what, let's go with construction polymers. I think those might be factor output or the food, I don't. Now let's go with the wood-fired engines. We'll need those. With increasing pressure on our fuel reserves, it is worth investing in alternate methods for our civilian population. And you guys are going to go with... What can you get? The consumer electronics are not bad. The mechanical computing might be better. That's going to help with the research. Yeah, let's go with that one. Constructing machines capable of advanced differential analysis will radically change what sort of machine-assisted calculations can be made. That's not a direct help to anything, but it's going to help overall with other things. Alright, now what I can do here is I can now reduce the imports of fuel from Soviet Union, and instead I can import food from Germany. Will that dramatically change the amount of food we're getting? Well, not dramatically, but it will. Okay, 8.3%, that's where it's gonna stop. And we're gonna get a little bit more food. Oh, we actually get more food here. We're gonna get a little bit more from Bursa now. And I think there was one more that's gonna help. I don't remember what it was. Food? Does that show? No. Yeah, it doesn't. Alright, never mind then. But I think there was more somewhere. Even if there isn't, how much do farms cost? Because they were really... I actually made an analysis that it was absolutely horrifying to build the food producing buildings like farms. Where are the farms? Resource storage, food storage. Here. Yeah, they cost 12,800 for 10. That's just... It makes absolutely no sense to do that. Alright, so we're gonna produce the steel mill. And you guys, in the meantime, will build another factory here. Alright, on the note, we're gonna end the episode here. And I'll see you in the next one, where we're gonna continue the story of Turkey. So far, so good. We're, moving slowly, but assuredly.